Well, hello. Good to have you along on my leisure drive. Yes, I'm taking a break from racing Project Cars 2. Uh, it's a wonderful race program and just been having a blast with it, but after many races, I thought I'd put out a video on some leisure drives to scenic mountains with vintage cars. First car we have here is the Mercedes-Benz 300 SLGP. Burn number 20. Let's take a closer look. I like this powder blue paint scheme. It reminds me of a powder blue VW a friend of mine had years ago. It's kind of funny. It had very much the same type of interior you see here, with a lot of metal, not too much plastic. And with the VW, I don't know about this Mercedes-Benz, but the VW, I was driving it and it started raining. And it didn't have automatic wipers. And these older cars didn't have all the features we have today. And I had to, there's a knob, there is wipers, there's a knob, you have to take the knob and twist it with your hand, and with one hand, and drive with the other hand while you're driving through the rain. Kind of funny, but I love the interior of this Mercedes-Benz. It brings back old memories from days gone by, and vintage feel of driving for sure. This Mercedes is 180 horsepower, top speed of 143 miles an hour. It's a 4-speed, and it's 6-cylinder and 2,171 pounds. It is a joy to drive. It's a pleasure. I'm driving along the west coast of California. You can find that in the settings when you set up, and if you want to choose this car, the Mercedes-Benz 300 SL GP Burn, and go ahead and drive it on the California highway reverse. I'm doing the reverse direction, and it's a nice scenic drive. Of course, I'm taking you through many of the vintage cars that they have on Project Cars 2. So next up we have a beautiful Ferrari, and I love this car in black, and you get to see a close-up here in a moment. There you go, and it's the Ferrari 250 Testarossa, and I got a set going along the Azores coast in France. And this car, here's the settings through this up in case you want to duplicate this leisure drive, scenic drive for yourself. I like to start off in the morning and see some of these buildings lit up, and some of the streets, and going through the town, and it's beautiful. I took some Mother's polishing compound, and you can see how nice this black finish looks, all polished up. It's gorgeous. Anyway, just joking there, but whoa, also has a beautiful interior, wood steering wheel, Ferrari, nice shifter, and it is a 1957. I failed to mention the first up, the Mercedes-Benz, that was a 1952. This one here is a 1957, so we're going back some years with these vintage cars, and they're wonderful cars to drive and look at. And, I just love the interiors of them back in the days when everything seemed like quality. There wasn't a lot of plastic. But this one here, it's 290 horsepower, 162 miles per hour top speed. It's a 4-cylinder V12, so you got quite a bit of engine there, and 1,955 pounds. So these little 2-seaters, they're kind of light, but they're a lot of fun to drive in project cars, and I just have a great deal of fun with them. And then I thought I'd go off and explore Scotland with the Aston Martin, and did this in the springtime. This Aston Martin is a 1959. Wow, and I really enjoyed this setting. Here's the particulars if you want to see what track I set up on. It takes you through Scottish countryside, around town and out off and over bridges and some lake area and woods and mountains. It's just a lot of fun. Of course, it's right-hand steering wheel, left side road driving. And yeah, since I'm not racing, I'm keeping to the side of the road I'm supposed to be on. And I love how these two-seaters, they don't have any, they're open, no hood to them, and the rear view mirror is mounted on the dash there. You'll see that with a few of these vintage cars. This Aston Martin has 254 horsepower. Its top speed of 165 miles an hour. It's a 5-speed though, and it is a joy to drive around this Scottish countryside. Here's a closer look of it. I love the spoke wheels. A lot of these cars had the spoke wheels back in the day. And yeah, it's probably not the car you want out in the rain, but it's a fun drive for sure. It is a straight 6. Like I said, a 5-speed, and it's 1,887 pounds. But have fun driving this one for sure. And just enjoy the Scottish countryside, scenic time. I set this up so it's the setting sun. I like to set up evenings and mornings most of the time, but you get different light conditions, because if you put in the settings the 5 times the speed instead of reality, 5 times compression, so every time you make a lap, you get the countryside's got different lighting on it, and it's really cool as it gets darker and darker. Some parts of town light up even more as it gets darker in other parts as the setting sun gets lower. It's a lot of fun and a blast to drive this thing. And I'm trying to keep my my leisure drive to a leisure drive, but occasionally you can't help yourself and you speed up a little bit wherever you can, just to see what you can do. But that's the Aston Martin in Scotland. Yeah, good looking fella behind the wheel, of course. Now, love this car. I thought I'd do another Ferrari for you. This is the 1961 Ferrari 250 GT Berlinetta. Not sure I pronounced that right, but I'm taking this through the Azore Coast westbound, and as the other Ferrari we went eastbound, but this one is going eastbound through the Azore Coast of France, and I'm having a blast going through. This is a really fun scenic route to take in project cars too. So obviously in 2 minutes you're not going to get the whole route, but we'll get a good look at some of the scenery here. And this Berlinetta is got 260 horsepower, 168 miles per hour top speed, most of which I can't even come close to going around these curves. Of course, I'm going pretty slow and keeping it in second gear. But it is a 4-speed, and it has a big engine as well. It's a V12, and it's 2,109 pounds. Love the dash on this. I'll give you kind of a passenger side view, so you get a good look of the cockpit and the gauges and stuff of these old vintage cars. I just love the look and feel of them. I hope you enjoy driving these as much as I do, and racing them as well. get an external view here coming around the bend where the seashore meets the town. Let's take a closer look. Pull over here and stop. Once again, we got a two-seater with the spoke wheels. Really good looking car. I chose white with the red stripe. There's a good selection and paint schemes that you could choose from. But I had fun with this coastal drive for sure. Nice Ferrari wooden wheel, and get down to the far side of this drive and come into the end of it and back into the city. Love the gauges on this. Really is a nice looking car on the inside and fun to drive. Well, I can't do a leisure drive though for everything, but I can do a scenic one. Here is one of the cars. Actually, this is the car I spend most of my time driving and racing. And this is the Lotus 25. It's a 1963, and I love this car. It is so much fun to get in and drive and see what you can do with it. I'm taking it easy for the most part to show it off here, but trying to handle the camera and drive the car at some speed, I lost control of it. And I figured I wouldn't edit this part out, let you see how I can spin out and recover and continue on. Of course, now I have to make a pit stop, but that'll be good because you get a closer look at the car later. Here's the settings for it, so you can take a look at that. We're at the Circuit de Spa Francorchamps in historic Belgium, and I like the historic tracks for sure. The interior is this beautiful orange and steering wheel, and I just love it. And I love the being in these old style Lotus with the external wheels, and you can see the suspension and you know, with all the cars I drive, this car, any of these Lotuses, you feel the road and the wheels you know, going along with the force feedback if you have a good steering wheel. I'm using the Logitech G920, and boy, you can feel the road with this car more than any other. It's fabulous. So I really enjoy driving this, racing it right now. I'm just taking it for a practice run, but this is the car I spend most of my time racing. Still not any good at it, but I'm getting better. And you know, yet when you do these practice runs, you got to do probably a dozen or more before you really know how to handle the curves, and you can get in there in a race and not kill yourself or spin out. This particular area here, I always spin out and end up on the left side of the bank. But I'm getting got enough practice now and enough races behind me. I've learned how to manage it, but you definitely have to brake and slow down. But this is a fun car. Now let's see about this car. It's a 200 horsepower and top speed of 154, 5-speed V8, and it's only 996 pounds. But it is a joy. I'm telling you, it's my favorite. It's the one I spend most of my time in. It's the one I race. Of course, you know, eventually I'll try some of the other cars. I like the Lotus with the wings on it. You know, it hugs the tarmac much better, of course. But this is definitely a nice car. What's the other Lotus? Is it 49? I think it's got some wings on it, pressing it down. Here we get a pit stop and we get a closer look at the externals. Yep, fun car to drive. Definitely recommend you take this one out for a spin and take it out on this particular track. Really nice. What do we got next? Well, and I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but this is also a 1963. It's an American-made Adjarian, a Watson Roadster, and golly, what track do I have it on? Well, anyway, It's in the, go back to the area where I had to show you the settings, and I think I'm in Australia on this particular one. Also, it's definitely a race track, a circuit, not a street drive, not a road, but it's scenic nevertheless, and it's also one fun one to drive any car on, actually. But this car, I have more trouble driving this car. Its particulars are quite different. Let's take a look at what those are. The Algerian Roadster is got 420 horsepower. A lot of power there, 180 miles per hour top speed. It's only a 2-speed, and it's a V8. It's got a lot of engine, and I'm sorry, it's not a V8. It's a straight 4, and it's 1,684 pounds. So it's not as heavy as a street car, but it's a little bit heavier than those Lotuses, and it is, I find every time I take this one out, I end up throwing the wheel off. You know, it looks like I'm making the curves here because, you know, yeah, I try to give you a good run for this particular vintage racer, but I'm no good with this car at all. But maybe you will be, and give that a try and see if you take to it. Next up, we have the 1966 Ford Mustang, and this is a summer drive along the California highway. And here's the settings I have for it, and time of day and all that if you want to drive along and take it for a leisure drive yourself. But it's a beautiful ride along the California highway for sure, and this car is top notch. I remember when I was a kid, my neighbor's teenage daughter had a brand new 1967, I believe, same car. Hers was in gold. I picked this aquamarine color for my drive along the California coast. I love this color. It's very pretty, and I like this interior tan and wood steering wheel, and it's just a wonderful interior. I got it set where you can see the whole cockpit here. I'll give you different looks and views here in a minute, but nice car. So let's talk about this one. This one is 270 horsepower, top speed of 150 miles an hour, and it's a 4-speed. And this is the one that's a V8, 2,892 pounds. So this is a, without a doubt, this is a regular street car. It's got some weight to it, but it has the V8 engine, and it is a blast to drive. And it does a good job for sure. If you want to take this one out racing, I haven't yet tried to race it, but I went ahead and took it up to, I don't know, I have to look close to 100 miles an hour right now. I don't know if I did any more than that. So, but it is a pleasure to drive, and a beautiful car at that. Love these vintage cars. Hope you do too. Hope you're enjoying this this ride along the California coast with me. But give it a good look and see if you like to take a leisure drive with it as well. Take a break from racing. You do so much, after a while you just get fatigued. And there's plenty of vintage cars. I was thinking about doing the 1970s as well. There's a few vintage cars from the 70s I love. But we're going to move over to the Camaro. This is a 1969 Chevy Camaro Z28, and I'm doing the California coast with this one as well. No, I'm not. This is, let's take a look. We'll have to take a look at the settings. This is kind of a fun view of driving this in the rain, but I think this is in Australia. Another racetrack not a regular road. I spun out there and figured I'll let you see. Here we go. So this one is in Australia, and here's the particulars if you want to race the same track with this car. Do some practice runs for sure, because you got to get used to these curves. I'm going to give it a clear day now, get away from the rain, and take you for a ride with this. This will be our last car for vintage. Like I said, I'd love to do the 70s, but I wanted to keep this video down to 20 some minutes, but there are some nice cars that you can drive around from the 70s as well. But for vintage, I thought I'd keep this to the 50s and the 60s. I love this orange peel color. I'll call it orange peel, but it's a nice orange color, and the white stripes. It makes this car stand out. Yeah, it makes it stand out. It's definitely a beautiful interior, but not a street car. It's set up with the roll bars, completely set up for racing on the track. It's a track only. You see that the interior is just for the race driver. Fun car to shift. And let's talk about the particulars on this one. It's got 410 horsepower. 190 miles per hour is the top speed. It's a 4-speed as well, but it's got a large V8 engine, which is awesome. A friend of mine had a V8 Camaro, and I was amazed. The old cars, when you look under the hood, are not like the new cars. It's all engine, but there isn't all that. There isn't a lot of other stuff. Where you open up the hood of a modern car, in it, you can barely get your arm down and to touch anything. These old cars, you can put your whole body in alongside the engine. There's so much space, and you don't have all that ancillary plastic stuff. Those of you who had older cars remember they were a pleasure to work on, because you can get access just about to everything. Yeah, this car is a lot of fun taking around this track, going around the curves, and giving it your best. But I'm taking it easy. I'm staying in second gear coming down this hill. Every time I try, I hadn't had a lot of practice on this particular circuit, so I'm not really good at this one. So I had to keep it in the lower gear and keep my speed down. Otherwise, I'd end up against the wall every time, so I gotta be careful with it. But this car, yeah, is a V8. It's 2,799 pounds. It's probably the heaviest car we got to talk about today. Anyway, hope you enjoyed my look at vintage cars and project cars too, and we'll catch you next time.